Johnny Greenwood, who I work with, who's brilliant, has a thing that he does that's really smart, that he just knows he'll never be able to hear all the music that's out there. Right. So he will take 3 months and focus on one thing. You know, he'll focus on ska music, he'll focus on reggae, whatever it is. He even stopped and did like heavy metal for 3 months. He said he kind of almost stopped, but it's a way to compartmentalize. So I just think
that was a segment of a conversation between Richard Linklater and Paul Thomas Anderson at the 2018 Austin Film Society Awards. The reason I picked this to start the second episode of Dissecting the Director is because what PTA is saying fits into precisely what this channel aims to do. This is perfect because he's the first director we will be discussing. Paul Thomas Anderson is one of the most fascinating, complex directors working today. Most of his films have a central core to them, but the direction and extension of those themes are where Anderson shows real variety and technique. I would define the heart of his filmography as a humanist, but also strange approach. His stories are grounded in reality, but they often feel out of this world. And the way he does this is through his use of the art of cinema. You see, PTA is a master collaborator and uses
I don't know how you do it, but I always kind of go, I let the actor lead usually. Like mainly sort of with Adam Sandler was the first time when I was working with him, I realized that I'd sought him out to work with him because I liked his performances. And we made 2 sort of different kinds of movies. And I remember things not going that well, and maybe I was trying to shoehorn something that I had thought in, and there he was, and we were floundering. And the second I just sort of realized, like, the movie's got to come to him. You know, it was kind of a way of sort of working that in following him, encouraging him. How did he like to work? He liked to improvise, but he liked to improvise within a tight structure. So ever since then, honestly, if an actor wants to rehearse, they want to prepare, I'll absolutely do that.
First, we start with how Anderson crafts stories, which is really important because he is the screenwriter for every one of his films. PTA is not alone on any of these projects, and what you'll see if you look at his crew from all his movies is that he often touches and characters in those montages. The beginning of Boogie Nights is renowned for its cinematography, but think for a second of how we are introduced to all the major players in this film so immediately. Then consider how effectively Tishner and Anderson display the persona of each character, given how quickly this happens. Now, this is not a montage, but it plays out like a montage in some ways. Think of how much information the audience is gifted in such a short amount of time, just as a montage would do. It makes the setting and characters clear without much work needing to be done. This is something PTA and his collaborators do well in all his films. They introduce us to characters and establish the rhythm of the plot early on. Now, take the scene further along in the movie. Now, as the movie has progressed, the viewer can this information without making it intolerable, and needs the editors to help make sure that comes off in the right way. Because without the right pacing and feeling in a scene, the scene will lose that comfort that allows the viewer to marinate in the themes and
That you, Shasta?
Thinks he's hallucinating.
No, just a new package, I guess.
I need your help, Doc.
You know, I have an office now. That's like a day job and everything.
I looked at the phone book. I almost went over there. Then I thought better for everyone if this looks like a secret rendezvous.
So everybody keeping a close eye?
Just spent an hour on surface streets trying to make it look good.
Now, what's critical to this scene is the lighting. Robert Ellsworth has worked on 6 of Anderson's films and is known for his ability to make things cinematic in a real kind of way. In other words, he looks at shooting to make things feel authentic. But here, we see a difference in color temperatures that makes things seem mystic or unfamiliar. Soft light abounds in this film, and lighting often looks noir, but it's pulled into a realistic setting. Consider that noir feel as we check out this next scene.
Word I'm hearing is that Mickey Wolfman might not be as missing as we think. Like gone but not gone. Man, you're gonna love this. The rumor is that the Department of Justice is trying to...
There you go.
Cute. The word I'm hearing is that the Department of Justice is trying to broker a Vegas deal for him.
Doesn't compute. Say again. Vegas, Wolfman.
FBI stuff. They need somebody else on the strip who's not Italian. You dig? Like Howard Hughes when he bought the Desert Inn.
Howard Hughes was Italian.
Now notice the color and staging of the scene along with the lighting. It is two men in a booth talking, something PTA has loved to do since his first film, short, Coffee and Cigarettes. But the contrast in costume design makes it distinct. The harsh light coming in from the window gives it that same noir feel mentioned earlier, but Doc, Joaquin Phoenix's character, is often given a less saturated palette to dress in, which is not as common in noir films. Then enters the drinks with a splash of color that provides an extra kick to the underlying humor of inherent vice. It is a film with side jokes like this all over the place that are funny in an unusual way that PTA likes. Finally, let's look at a last scene that brings these two ideas of light and color contrast together. Notice the way Doc is displayed in the two different situations. In one case, he is offering help to a drug addict, and the light feels soft and natural. Nothing feels constructed. And both characters are wearing earthy, undaunting colors. Contrast that to the wife of the missing Mr. Wolf, and you can see how PTA films come to shape. The lighting of Mrs. Wolf does not seem natural, and her swimsuit widow attire feels out of place, but it all feels plausible, especially the lighting, which is explained away in one line. So the idea of the cinematography being grounded in reality comes back to the forefront again. Everything has a natural intent and design look in Anderson films, and a significant factor in that is how often he collaborates with his trusted director of photography, Robert Elswith. Elswith also adds texture to a lot of his films. He likes shooting on actual film, not digital. He's only recently gone to digital here in his past couple films. And one big reason he stayed with film for so long is the kind of texture and grain it adds to his films that he feels gives it a more homey, natural look. There Will Be Blood was the first film Greenwood scored for PTA, and it made such an impact that it is widely considered one of the most iconic original scores of the 2000s. What makes Greenwood's string orchestra so effective in this movie is how it complements the scenes in such a way that the scenes are actually better for it. Take this monologue by Daniel Playview as the Oilmen begin to come into town and set camp. Score is undersetting all of this, but is giving the scene a boost in the rhythm and is helping initiate the comfort that was described earlier. This kind of montage to guide the viewers in is not something new that PTA is doing, we know that now, but is given a new level of appealing to the senses by a properly done score. The best music in film does not stand out entirely, but does not blend in wholly either. It stands to build the scene up and help elicit the correct emotional response. Now with that in mind, take down to this next scene that is famous for its cinematography. The moment the audience just saw it is the end punctuation to a powerful scene that puts the big punch onto the last frame the viewer sees. Finished. So, with all this in mind, consider how effectively PTA uses his collaborators and how they help him bring about his vision. It's an essential part of understanding his work. I leave you with a hint to our next director. I hope you all enjoy this video and look for a new one next month.